Disclaimer. The opinions expressed in this show are unfiltered and unrehearsed. Statements conveyed are personal and issued to the best of the ability and knowledge of the cast. They should not be taken as conclusive facts. Does This Offend You is not responsible for any mental, physical, or emotional damage sustained by its listeners. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to another episode of Does This Offend You? Today we talk about the concept of time. Respecting people's time, what you do with your own time, and how much time do you really have left. And goddamn it, be on time! Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.
What do I have to say to make some money? What do I have to say to make some money? No offense.
Phantasmic. Hey, only 28 minutes late today. Good job.
Actually, 24.
No, 28. We started right now. 28. That's
well,
what
that's
counts.
not my fault that you hit the record button so slow.
And
No.
I suppose all the stuff you just did, having to find the destination folder, that 4 minutes that took doesn't count.
No, not really.
Okay, fine. 24
I just want
minutes.
to hear you.
late,
I don't
well.
want. I don't want to hear you bitching later about it. That's why.
No, I'm bitching about it now.
I know. That's what I'm
we
saying.
wanted,
I don't
we
want to hear you
wanted to
bitching
do
about it
7
later.
p.m. It's now 7:28. That's all I'm saying. This actual
Look, it's
start
not,
time.
I can't. I understand. Like I
7:28.
said, I can't help it that our wonderful law enforcement decides to go quota shot hunting at the end of the month every single month for stupid shit. These guys literally are so fucking stupid that they gave me a goddamn blank ticket. Blank fucking ticket.
What do you mean blank ticket?
That's-
Like write your own price on it?
No, they literally filled out something and they gave me the wrong ticket in return. Because I got pulled over by a rookie and some guy was trying to watch him over. And I told him, like, yeah, I have it registered, run my plates, you'll see everything's up to date, yada yada. Showed him my insurance on my phone. And the cop who was with him was like, why do you have it on your phone? Why don't you have the physical copy? I'm like, what's the difference? And he's like, I mean, there isn't a difference, but still, you should probably have a physical copy. I'm like, I appreciate the input. I'm not asking for your input, though. And then he's like, when he asked me, why don't you have the tags? I'm like, they were stolen. I don't want to put them on. He's like, Omid, you were telling me before it was like the razor thing. He's like, yeah, you know you can razor them. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. With all due respect, do you want to razor that for me? And he's like, no. I'm like, then I don't want to do it myself either. I'd like to put the tags on, not have them stolen. And he's just like, okay. And I'm like, good. Glad we had that talk.
Cool. All this to say that you're 24 minutes late. But
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Vlad, you are now the lightning rod for my frustration today, but
That's good.
most days, really. But today I'm just going to use you as a catalyst for the people I've met in my life, like you, are the people who never plan for contingencies and rely on, like, they hope to get it under the wire.
It's not about being under the wire. You understand, here's the problem with what situation here is that happens, that this guy who pulled over, it was just bad luck, the sense of, like, I got a rookie who's trying to do his job with a guy who's trying to overbear him, and he took his sweet ass time to the point that I started waiting him down, like, hey, can you hurry the fuck up a bit? I know that it's not, and like I said, I'm not justifying being late. I actually would have been here on time had these two intellectuals of a higher standard didn't decide to pull me over for stupid ass reasoning. But yeah, unfortunately, sometimes life throws you a hand. I was literally here beforehand. I was already in the area. It just happened. It sucks. I can't control other people, especially in law enforcement, to kind of hightail their ass and get things done fast, especially if it's their first or second day on the fucking job. They have to be supervised by a colleague on how they work.
Listen, I'm not knocking you. You obviously couldn't foresee this happening.
I'll
Shit
do it.
happens.
I'll do it.
Okay, you can, but let me finish the statement.
Yeah, go for it.
The fact that, like, if you can't plan for contingencies, you don't care enough about what being on time, what that actually means. I mean, it's like to me, that means comfortably. When I want to go somewhere or do something, like, I know there's going to be a bunch of traffic, or I know it takes me this long to do this. Like, I don't, like, there's an actual almost an art to just being on time these days, which is weird because it really, I mean, I've bitched about this before, being on time in the party episode. I'll plug that here. But ultimately, it's really not that hard, especially if it's part of a routine that you're used to. There are just people. There are like two types of people in this world. There's people who actually respect it and people who don't. I think that's really what it comes down to. And I'm not really I don't like to be binary with a lot of things in life, but I think that's literally only two people I know. There are people who know shit can happen. I'll try to leave a little early, and be there comfortably on time or a little bit before. Then there are people who are like, if I plan this just fucking right, I will get there exactly on time if the stars align, and I won't be late. Like just praying to God that like nothing will happen to me. Like there's those type of people, and then there's people
which is totally fine.
And
Like
that same
Ocean's 11.
Which is totally fine, but
No,
the
it's
problem
not.
is
like hope. No, it's not, because like you're leaving out the chance, as you would like with a cop pulling you over, etc., etc. You know, things can
So-
happen. You leave that window open, and that's really what makes people late.
yeah,
all the
I got
time.
that part. My point
Yeah.
is that I was going to be here by my timing. I was going to be here 10, 15 minutes before we were supposed to start. That's like the standard you're supposed to be arriving on time is 10 to 15 minutes before you have an appointment or something, which is fine. And that's not the issue. The problem is, like I said, bad luck happens. It sucks. You can knock it all you want, but you can't really control how life envelops you. I honestly wish that I don't really mind the cop pulling me over some bullshit. I've had this happen multiple times, and that's not an issue for me. I always get off of it. But the problem is, for some goddamn reason, it just chose today to show up with a guy who's brand new on the force, who's slow as fuck at his job. Not very good, obviously, because he has to be somebody has to hold his hand for it, and that's just out of my reach at that point. I can't do anything about it. It sucks, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not justifying being late, but I'm also can't sit here and justify them trying to, play status quo at the end of the month, trying to collect their money for really, really stupid shit that has nothing to do with it. You don't even have a fucking sticker in your car. You have a license plate that they can run and it says registration renewed. Cool. Get the fuck out of here. Why the hell do you need to do all this shit? Why do you need to keep pulling people over? Why do you need to harass them? Why do you need to have the slowest motherfucker on your force try to write a ticket that he even fucks up on and gives you a blank ticket?
I object on so many levels. Oh my god. All right, let's. You mind, Danny? You mind?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
Let's start with the fact that number one, this is what, the fourth week in a row this has become a problem.
Third.
Whatever.
I keep
It's
track.
there's a trend of it happening to the
Yeah.
point where it does seem like you do want to cut it close, and it doesn't work out in your favor. What that tells me is that you're not planning ahead of time to be here. And when we got your message, if you could have messaged us earlier, hey guys, I just got pulled over, but instead you're sitting there thinking, okay, this usually goes by fast. When you say this usually goes by fast, this tells me this is normally an issue with you, which means you know they're gonna bother you about it. And if you know someone has the power to bother you about it, you gotta factor that in at this point. Either that or do something about it, because now you're asking to get pulled over because you have some kind of bullshit like, you do it for me. That is so fucking stupid. My dad bothers me all the time to do it, and I'm annoyed by it too, but I put the sticker on the thing, I grabbed a razor, I slashed it, and it doesn't take more than 10 seconds to do it, but you decide to stand on some pedestal for yourself and say, I'm not gonna do it. And good for fucking you.
Right.
But now you're wasting our time. And now I'm going to expand on that by saying, by being late or by trying to cut it so close to the edge, it tells me that you don't respect our time either, because I'm here early. I wait for you to tell me a time because I don't know. My day is technically free, but then I'll plan around this. And I'm here sitting early.
Totally fine.
Danny
I
is
respect
Danny
that.
sit. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Danny's here earlier than both of us, and he's all ready to go. And I'm like, well, fuck it. If he's gonna take his sweet time, I'm gonna go do something else right now because I got shit to do right now. All right?
Like what?
Well, fucking emailing the fucking board so I can get my shit done. I'm talking to a bunch of offices about a fucking job. I'm working out. I'm eating my food. Let's see. I'm just, hitting up friends, seeing what's up. Trying to go out and go shopping or something. Like, I'm filling my day with shit to do. Is it not as important? No. That's why I can rearrange my shit knowing what my day is going to look like. And if you say I'm going to be there at 3 p.m., I'm here at 3. If you say 7, I'm here at 7. My whole day is planned around this shit. Now, the other problem is that I get it. This isn't important enough for you to be early, because if it was important enough, you would be here 10 minutes earlier. You would be here 15. And fine, do your own thing, but just understand that by you being late and us being on time, it's disrespectful to us. Rant over.
Okay.
What
and
else? Okay.
bouncing back to your thing, one, I work. I'm not just out hanging out with friends, eating food, working out, trying to call offices, trying to call the board about some bullshit. I work. I respect you have your time. I'm not trying to take away from it. But don't give me bullshit because life throws curveballs. I was going to be here on time. I was going to actually be here early. Shit happens. I can't control it. You can't control it. Nobody can. You have to kind of roll with the punches at some point. And Danny, you're home most of the time currently, and that's fine. You're doing whatever you do. You have your own work here. I get it. I'm not justifying being late, but I'm telling you again. Sometimes shit happens. I can't control it. If I was literally, hey guys, I'm out here hanging out, or I decided to do some other bullshit that has nothing to do with work relation, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I don't really give a flying fuck about you. But because I try to hightail my ass around everything, trying to get here, get in time, work up to making sure that your time isn't wasted because, we make preparations for it, don't tell me I don't respect your time. I just have things going on, and sometimes bad luck kicks in the way. It is what it is. I can't control it. My work, on comparison to you and Danny, requires me to move and be mobile constantly. I don't get to stick in one place and be on a computer or make phone calls.
Well, back when I had work, how often was I late? How often
You were late. You were late.
I
a few
was
times,
late, but
too.
how often? Was it 4 times? No, I'm sorry. In your perspective, 3 times in a row? No,
No,
because
there were
I
a few
always
times when you
gave
were
myself
late.
that. I was late a few times, but I gave myself
Yeah.
that window, and I never said I am for sure free at this time because I knew there was shit that needed to get done. I gave you guys a window, and I respected that window.
And that's
As
fine.
to the best
I'm
of my
trying
ability.
to respect your window too. And like I said, I work mobile, unlike you guys. I have things to do. And whether you like it and consider this to be a good reason or not, it is what it is. And
I've never had remote work in my life.
It's not
Ever.
remote work. It's mobile
Well, what are you
work.
trying to say? Mobile work? What is mobile
Yes.
work? You're out of the fucking house?
No, mobile work. Mobile work means I have to go from destination to destination. I can't really control how traffic flows. I can't control what's going to happen when I get to destination. There's a whole lot of factors that go into it. I don't get to be in an office. I don't get to be working remotely from home. I have to go from different place to different place. I have to consider what I do, and so it's a bit more difficult from where I stand.
So then what's stopping you from sending us a warning that you're gonna be late if something does come
Well,
up?
in this case specifically, I couldn't text you because I had fucking cops right next to me. If they saw me texting, it might kind of come off the wrong way, being like, "Why are you on your phone?" When they walked away, that's when I was able to respond, and you'd be like, "Hey, just got pulled over. Give me a second here."
Okay. Let me do the usual job here and intervene between the both of you. Have to break this up a little bit. I'm gonna let me just say this. Vlad, between the three of us, yeah, the mobile schedule. I think I brought this up before too. Between the three of us, Vlad has the most rigorous workload, and he has and on top of that, the type of schedule and the type of line of work he's in. There are no guarantees. It's not like a 9 to 5, I clock out, I go home kind of job. Yeah, he has to deal with traffic conditions. He has to deal with like the other factors that people he deals with, his clientele, like actually affects how long each I guess what do you call it? Each occurrence.
Not even
takes.
clientele, just the people that I have to go after,
Right.
and then what's it called? Scenarios of all sorts, whether it's legal,
Right.
dealing with cops, whatever.
Each single one is independent of the other. There's no like guarantee for how long each one's going to take. It's completely ambiguous. Your entire schedule is really very ambiguous. Now, that's in your defense. Now, to prosecute you now, to on the other side of it, if you have a schedule each day and you have a routine and you're used to it and you've been doing it for a long time, what excuse do you have to not plan around the ambiguity? Because there is a window of time you can work with where you can show up to other places on time, despite all of the bullshit that can happen within your actual workday.
So
There are reasons for being late, and then there's like compiling excuses that people make when you're not. Because if you have a routine, there's a way to plan around your routine.
like I said, with my routine aspect, it's like imagine having to make a route every single day, and a route that is completely random based on different curvature of when you came there, if it was in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, or the weekend, whether it was, and these variations vary by you can't, do the same thing for the same place. You have to go. I'm not trying to say too much in regards to what I do because, again, online. But considering the fact that different attempts have to be made based on different times of day, whether it's the weekend, weekday, variations of how far each location is from the other, varying on if you get in contact with the person who are you trying to, communicate with, and base it up a time for them that they're available, because I can't set up my time. I have to base it on their time. it's a whole lot of bullshit. On top of that, traffic, you have people get into car accidents, road work, police intervention, some sort of emergency. Shit happens constantly. Again, I'd love to be able to, say, hey, I got this routine down to a T. I don't think that anybody who, whether they deliver mail for FedEx, UPS or something, or, USPS, can say, yeah, we have a down the track fucking record. People, shit happens. It's a part of life, especially when, like I said, when you have a mobile type of workplace where you have to move around constantly from place to place. You're not at a secluded location like me with Costco for my part-time shit, and or being able to work remotely, like computer development for certain people. My point is that variants happen. Yeah, it's nice to be able to get it perfectly on time, that you can just get there maybe 10-15 minutes early, or you can get there right on time, the stars align for you, and it's totally great. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Today, technically, I should have been here earlier, which I was on schedule to do, but somehow life decided to roll the dice and throw out this wonderful situation where I had to deal with two individuals who were not in a big hurry, didn't care that I was in a hurry, and took their sweet time to get things processed for them. This is not me justifying being late. This is just me saying it's a part of work. I do apologize for being late. I'm not crushing you guys for it, but I'm saying again, if you knew where I work, if you were in my shoes and having to run around with all the bullshit, and yeah, I like to stand on a pedestal where I don't like to have bullshit ideals pushed down my throat saying, you need to have a sticker on your fucking license plate that can get stolen, but I don't really need you there because I can run your plate and see that you've been renewed for your registration. Stupid logic that they need to fucking push on you, or give you a fucking fix-it ticket for $20 that you need to just get signed off and send it off for $20 to say, go fuck yourselves. It's the same concept here. Stupid ideals, stupid laws exists, and unfortunately bad luck happens. I'm not justifying my means, I'm just saying it is what it is, and I'm not trying to get hung up on it because everybody, like I said, Omid, you've been late before. I don't usually give you shit be like, hey, you're late, fuck you. Like, no, I get it, you're late. I know your work as well, where you were working with your profession, and shit happens. It's the part of life. I'm okay with it.
So let me be clear. This isn't really an attack on you, Vlad. Like I said, this is just a catalyst for a bigger concept. Here's my problem with what you're saying. Like, I know you have a lot to do during your work day, but so does fucking everybody else. And the only thing that matters at the end of it all is point A to point B. When you're at your last location, how much do you factor in it's going to take you to get to the other location once you're done with all the extra stuff?
Well, it's based on the GPS, man. That's whatever the GPS shows me, and I have to kind of calculate in my head, is it going to be fast or not?
So what I'm saying is, if it's part of a routine, how do you not know like the extraneous factors that always come into play? And
because random shit happens. I've had people who literally spun the whole situation out of hand because they weren't happy with what was coming their way. And then I had to get law enforcement involved, or all sorts of shit. Again, you don't really anticipate for this, regardless of how much you might train yourself and make a routine out of it. You will never be fully prepared. You might have somebody one day you might have a fucking guard dog attack you, and then you'll have to fucking deal with that too. Shit happens. You can't control it. It's there's no real isolation to be able to follow rhetoric like A, B, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't work that way. At least for what I do.
I got that much, but I'm just saying, like, how much do you allow for crazy shit to happen? And like, outside of something insane that might take hours upon hours, like there has to be some sort of estimate to what you're doing. Like, I'll give you, for instance, I like part of a routine in my life, part of this things I've come to know about living here in San Francisco Bay Area is the shitty amount of traffic that happens no matter what day it is. Like, and you can, and the thing is, I don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. I just know it exists and it can happen. So the other day, this was on Sunday, on the GPS, the fucking GPS, Google and all its infinite wisdom said 17 minutes from my house to the city to where I was supposed to go. I was going to a restaurant. 17 minutes. I left more than an hour early. And you want to know why? Because it's San Francisco and it's not my first fucking rodeo. I'm not naive. And what happens as soon as I start driving? As soon as I get to 6th Street, the exit, traffic out the ass. You want to know what else happens once I make it down past the 6th Street exit? They closed off Folsom Boulevard, Folsom Street. I don't know why. Apparently there's some sort of fucking marathon. San Francisco, all its fucking hypocrisy just like wants to just create traffic because they don't want people driving in the city anymore. They're just creating excuses to close streets down. No one needs to fucking run a marathon down Folsom. Go run on the fucking Embarcadero or something. Do it somewhere else. Anyway, I didn't foresee that happening. What I did foresee, living on this planet and living in the Bay Area for so long, is that shit like this almost always occurs, and I have no idea why it does. I just know that it does, and that's why. And after everything, and looking for parking, I know that's a factor when you're going to the city, especially downtown. All this shit I put into my brain before I even got into my car. I'm like, I know this is gonna take. So I left more than an hour early, and guess what happened? All the extra bullshit, everything that wasn't accounted for, that was just like compiling and bombarding me and like ruining my fucking trip. I still got to that fucking place like 2 minutes early. Like I don't even ask me how. Like it was fucking nuts. But still, and I'm saying that there's a world where that is an option, where you can plan for shit because you know the routine and you know where you are and you understand what you're doing on a daily basis. If you have that understanding, then you can plan accordingly. There is somewhere in all the chaos that you can find a way to be somewhere on time. And that's not just you, Vlad. I'm talking to like everybody out there who's compulsively late to shit because they don't factor anything else in. They always think it's that easy. Or they just simply just don't give a fuck. I don't know.
It's basically planning for the worst and reducing the chance of something slowing you down. Right? Because I also same with you, like when I'm going somewhere in the city, if my GPS says 20 minutes, I'm in the city already, but I still plan for double that, 40 minutes, because I have to get through the city, get through the people, and then I have to find parking. All of this factors into the time getting there, because I'm not there until I'm there. Like arriving in your car based on GPS does not mean that's exactly how long it's going to take. Yeah. So I think there is a certain level of, if it's important enough to you and what you're trying to do has some kind of weight, either you have that legitimate reason that you're going to be late and you try to be like, hey, I'm going to be this late, or it just didn't cross your mind to do that. It wasn't important. Like if you're going to be late to a date, you're not just going to show up 20 minutes late and be like, oh yeah, sorry, I got pulled over by the cops for my tags. No, you're going to, as soon as you can, be like, hey, I just got pulled over, so that we know ahead of time something's up. Or she knows ahead of time something's up. Or he, whoever, I don't give a shit. What is it? Like, there was that one time where I knew I was supposed to hang out with Danny, but I had shit to do. And I was like, no, I really want to hang out with Danny today. So I woke up at 5 a.m. and I did a workout because I wanted to reduce the chances of me needing to leave or cut something short or not knowing how long I'm going to be with Danny. But if I had a task to do that I could do on my own time, I did it earlier. Like, there are ways to mitigate these risks.
I think that's exactly what's important. Yeah, mitigating the risk. You play the, like, you understand the patterns already, and you can work with that. And I don't know, people just, it really depends on who you are. Honestly, I think that's what it comes down to. There are people who actually respect like being somewhere on time, respect the concept of time, and there are people who just simply don't. And those are the people,
Slavic time.
Yeah, hashtag Slavic time. Another plug back to that episode. And you know, I guess I started off by saying there's like a binary to this, but honestly, there are different types of people. I just think you fall into either one. Here's the binary: is either on time or you're not. I think that's the only way you can describe it. But there are different types of people involved who, you know, they find the excuses to be there on time or early, or the people who are just like compulsively and habitually always late. And I think we know both. I'm the one, I know for a fact I like to be, if I say I'm going to be somewhere on time, I that's a promise, and I try to keep that promise. Obviously, that's interlaced with a lot of my personality. I hate being lied to, and I hate lying and honesty. All that shit that comes, so it's a little bigger for me. It's not the same for everybody, you know. And other people are just like, hey, fuck it, if I get there when I get there. And that's someone I actually, you know, I think I've bitched and ranted about before. The person I'm currently dating is like the complete polar opposite. Fundamentals when it comes to like understanding the concept of time, polar opposites. And I don't know how it works, but it just somehow it does. I mean, it's not everything, but it isn't. It just, speaking from experience, and you know who you are. You people know exactly who you are.
Well, the thing is, I don't even think you need to promise or anything. I think when you say you're gonna be somewhere at a certain time, that's your word, and that's literally all I need. if someone says, "Oh, I promise," or "I swear to God," I'm like, don't ever swear to God or swear to Jesus or whatever. I don't give a fuck what you swear to. If you tell me you're gonna be somewhere, that's all I need. That's your word. And once you break your word with somebody, I had a family friend who died, and the only reason I still remember him, aside from, him being a pretty cool guy, was before he died, he taught me the lesson that there's nothing more important to a man than his word. And ever since then, I never promised anything. I never make promises because I think that's over the edge. Anytime somebody tells me to swear to God, I tell them, fuck you, like, don't disrespect me like that. I tell them every time, my word is my bond. If I say I'm going to do something, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, if I say something, I'm going to make it happen. And God forbid something else happens, but I swear, like, I'll make sure that if there's any discrepancy, you'll know. And I remember one time, like, it's kind of a stupid story, but I was out on this really long hike, and it was kind of frustrating because we never made it to our destination. I was getting really annoyed, so we decided to change plans and go on a lake. And one of my buddies started getting really disrespectful, and he was drunk, obviously, so I couldn't really blame him too much. But he was like stepping on all of my clothes with his like muddy feet, and my phone and everything was under there, and he was just stepping on all of it. I was like, "Hey man, stop it! Like, what the fuck are you doing?" And he thinks he's funny. He grabs it, waves it in the air, puts it over the water, tries to fight me, like, "Hey, drop my shit or I'm gonna slap you." And he called my bluff, so he started playing with me some more. So I grabbed my slap and I slapped him in the face. The entire rest of the trip, the guy was being a bitter piece of shit that I slapped him and I disrespected him. But I was like, dude, I told you I was gonna do it, because I told him my word is my bond. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. And I guarantee you, from that point on, he knew to respect me when I said I'm gonna do something. Because a lot of people don't keep their word these days, and that leads to people calling your bluff too. That's just the way I live my life.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, promise and your word, a promise and the word of your word, that's all synonymous to me. It's like on any scale. Okay, but you just said like I don't make promises. It's fine. You don't have to actually explicitly say I promise, but when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. That's what I mean. That's what I meant from the top. Yeah. Like
I agree with you. Like I don't think promises are necessary. I think if you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
Here's my thing for both of you. As much as like I said, I get where you guys are coming from, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, like, in the most, don't think it's the wrong way. I live in reality, and I kind of face the fact that shit happens, and you guys kind of need to also understand that. And simply enough, there's a difference between a person who walks around and scratches their balls without really trying to get somewhere on time, and be on time and keep their word and whatnot. And there's people who actually try to be there, but just shit happens. For that reason, same as a lot of actual companies, like Costco, for instance, they have their whole entire concept that if you're scheduled for something, you have a few minutes where you're allowed to be late because, again, shit happens. They understand that. I'm not saying, and this is surprising because I'm usually the one who bash Costco with full force. Even this wonderful company seems to kind of understand that, hey, you can set up a time, but things happen. Be a little lenient sometimes. And I know of people who make time and say they're going to be somewhere, and they just walk around, they eat food, they scratch their ass, they can't figure out what the hell they were supposed to bring. They just make all the excuses in the world to walk around and do nothing. Then there's people who really do try to be on time. They leave early, they try to get there, they time everything, but shit happens. And I'm not God. I don't think either of you is God either, to kind of be like, you have to make sure this goes down the right way. Guys, reality is knocking on the door. Shit happens. It's respectful to everybody. Like I said, I value your time. I appreciate you both being here and making time for it. And believe me, I'm trying to make time for it too. I could be out doing my thing right now making money, but I'm not. I'm here because I want to be a part of this. I want to help contribute what I can. So, in the simple sense is, if you know people who are trying to be there, just happen to be late because something happens, be a little lenient. Same as I try to be with you guys when you guys are late. You never hear me bitch about it. Try to do the same thing with other people, especially if they are trying, if they're not just, like I said, sitting at home scratching their ass. There are different people in this world. You can add to Danny's category of people who are either on time because they're lazy and have are literally not trying to be on time, or there's people who are late but they try to be here and just didn't work out.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is it physically impossible for you to be on time?
No, it's possible
Is there
because I've
there
done
literally
before.
nothing you could have done to be on time?
Not done my job.
Huh?
Not done my job.
Okay. Is there any way where you could do your job and still be on time? Like, could you start earlier? Could you put the tag
No,
on your
that's
car to mitigate the risk of a cop pulling you over? Could you, I don't know. I, that's pretty much all I could think of at this point because I don't know specifically what you do, but are those possibilities?
yeah. So like I said earlier, you can ask my wonderful roommate on the podcast how early I tend to get up sometimes and leave the house, whether it's 6 or 7 or 8, whatever, to go and work. I don't really have the leisure of being able to not do that. With in regards to the tags, sure I can put it on, but that would mean that I would have to go and do all the bullshits and make sure it doesn't get stolen again, which I don't particularly want to do, and I don't feel that there's my responsibility since the government's the one who's bitching about it. They can fucking figure out their own problems.
Okay, well, on that, if you know that having it on your phone is all that matters, why don't you just stick it on there and if it gets stolen, use your phone one?
No, it's not the phone. They can run my plates. They literally just want the tag on the license plate. That's their whole thing. That's their whole spiel. And I'm like, I don't fucking care what you want because when I have it stolen, you make me pay for it. And I don't want to do that. I don't care how angry you get with me and how unhappy you are with my behavior. I don't give a flying fuck because you guys don't care about me, so why would I care about your opinions or your stupid fucking ideals? It's not this law that you are putting in place has no effect on anybody else around me. It's not like the fast lane where you're blocking traffic and have to move out of the way. It's not like you're fucking putting people's lives in danger. It's literally a fucking sticker that notifies them visually, hey, he's been registered. When you can do the same fucking thing with your smart AI fucking cameras on your police cars, run my plates and say, registered, up to date registration, all that bullshit. You don't need it.
Okay, but now getting pulled over needs to get factored in because you actively know you're doing something that gets their attention.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't been pulled over for this shit in like a year and a half, but I mean, it happened. Again, luck of the Jew on my side.
Okay, listen, man. I'm not knocking you for this. This is out of your hands. This is. Let me just take. I'm not trying to hyper focus on what happened today. It's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm saying is there are people who, like, you brought up the concept of like people show up late to Costco. There's like a window of time where it's like fine to be late. The problem is when you give people that leverage, they tend to use it. So
Yeah.
in the same respect that like, oh, I drive around, if you start giving yourself the excuses, and that's when you start to like disrespect actually showing up to places on time. And I'm not saying it's you specifically this instance. I know shit happens, but you have to account for shit happening.
And I agree with you. I agree
Yeah.
with you. But the difference is for me is like unlike
Yeah.
what we're not saying. It's like if you're late because you were out fucking jerking your dick or watching TV or sleeping or eating or masturbating, whatever the hell you're doing in your free time, I'm gonna take it like you don't respect me and my time. Versus if you're out working or you're dropping off your kids at preschool or something literally happens that you're like actually busy, that life's going on in front of you that you're having to factor in and take care of stuff. I'm not gonna hang it over your head.
Right.
I get it. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but again, I get it.
So that really,
Life happens.
Yeah, but that, to me, that comes down to like a character study. You have to understand who you're dealing with, and that's really where I split my frustration. If I know you're the type of person who like really really wants to make it work and tries your best, and like I know you're busy. I mean, we're all busy. That's not an excuse anymore. Sorry, not sorry. But if you're really that kind of person, then it's fine. Like shit happens. I get that. Shit happens. I get shit happens. It's not like lost on me. Where I draw the line is like if shit always happens, it's always convenient for this kind of person that shit keeps happening to them. In which case,
Yeah.
I have to say that you're full of shit. Fuck you. Try to work like try to show up on time for once. Like actually respect my time, our time,
know.
respect time in general. That's a different story entirely. That's how I split the two. That is the line I draw for me being like fed up with somebody and me being like it's fine. I get it.
And I respect that, and that's why I'm saying again, I've been, for the most part, majority of the episodes, I've always been early or on time here, waiting, hanging out. Whether it's one of us, somebody else in the podcast being late, I've been here, But unfortunately, like I said, I work a lot, and my schedule is super just unstable. And as much as I want to make it work, that I'm like, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here type of thing. It's hard. And yeah, of course, like I said, I try to be in contact like, hey, I'm gonna be running late. Sorry, I can't do anything about it. Yeah, it just shit tends to happen. And I'm just saying from a point of where I'm saying it, you have to kind of factor in reality. Obviously, I don't think that anybody thinks I'm literally hanging out, playing with my balls in my room, or doing whatever, or smoking hookah somewhere. I think that anybody who lives with me at this point can tell that I'm literally never home, because I'm always out doing one job or the other. And the fact that I'm still functioning the way I am is God's miracle of its own.
I love how your baseline for shitty characters is playing with your balls.
I mean, that's what it usually is.
I play with my balls, just like not all the time, and it never makes me late. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, well, some people like to play with their balls a lot and eat food and scratch their ass while they watch TV, and then they're like, "Oh, look at the time! I'm already late."
Yeah, I know those people. Yeah, and honestly, I'm not out of that demographic either. I've definitely been late to this podcast once or twice before, even though I'm the one who sets it up, which is like, I apologize for that, blah, blah, blah. Not making a habit out of it. I think habit is the key word. Like people who like just continuously do it all the time. And you can't really trust them on the same basis that it is their word when they say they're going to be somewhere at the time that you both agreed upon. And then they continually break that. Yeah. And I know exactly who those people are. And I know the people even one step further who like never justify it, like never even try. And they don't even like tell you ahead of time. They're just like late. And they're like, you're like, what's up? Been here for an hour. I'm like, I'm here. I'm like, I know you're here. I see that. Why are you here an hour late? like there are people who are just like unapologetic pieces of shit, and I know them personally. And they're like, they don't even try, not even a modicum of respect. They're just like, I got here. I did my job. I did it.
I'll give you an example too. Like me and Steve, Steve, you've been in his restaurant. His family has a restaurant, and we used to work back before the one that he has now. The one beforehand, we used to work as waiters at his restaurant. And the whole thing was that I would come pick Steve up, and we would drive from his house to the restaurant and set up and work and all that shit. Steve, God bless his soul, I would come to his house, ready, dressed up, ring the doorbell, and this motherfucker's walking around in his underwear. And I'm like, Steve, we gotta go. He's like, oh, yeah, don't worry, we're okay. And I'm like, Steve, your mom is gonna kill you, and I'm gonna get the fucking casualty of war effect on me. And he's like, bro, don't worry, I got this. My parents don't give a fuck. A few minutes later, he get a phone call from his parents, his mom bitching, where the fuck are you? Why are you still not here? Something yada yada. And I'm like, and Steve's like, Mama, calm down. We're coming, okay? Puts on the phone. I'm going to finish this video game, this round of League of Legends really quick. We're going to go. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, is like the people who don't give a flying fuck. That's, to me, the kind of person who's like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
That I can't stand. And that would be, if that was a situation here, I would be like, you know what, guys, you're absolutely right, I'm a piece of shit. But I'm saying that, in my case specifically, I'm like, I'm trying to be here. I really am. I had everything planned out. I was literally right outside the fucking house before I got, shit happened. And, as my Jewish luck goes, unfortunately, it was a guy who just didn't know what the fuck he was doing and really, really went slow at something as simple as writing out a ticket for a fix-it ticket, which is just abnormal.
Okay.
He went over 20 minutes trying to figure out how to write a fucking ticket. And this dumb fuck at the end gave me a blank one. Like, I don't know what the fuck the state is hiring on for their police force, but whatever, I don't care.
All right, well, speaking of time, let's cut that short because now we're just beating a dead horse. So we're going to use the opportunity. Good. It's time now for a commercial break. So stick with us, and we'll talk more about time or something else entirely right after this break. See you in a minute. Does This Offend You is absolutely, definitely, and undoubtedly brought to you by this 100% totally real sponsor. Hey folks, John Madden here. Sorry, not John Madden. Today, this episode of Does This Offend You is brought to you by Greenies. Now, as many of you know, over the last couple of weeks, I've been taking care of some neighborhood cats, and nothing gets them to my door quicker than Greenies dental treats. Now, the cool thing about these is that no matter where I am, all I have to do is throw these on the ground, and it just resonates throughout the entire neighborhood. Like there's a vibration, like a resonant vibration that the cats hear, and they come running to your doorstep. All I have to do here, I'll do it right now, and I'll film a video right now. I'll throw it right against my fucking window. Here's one. And there's it didn't make it quite outside because there is a curtain in the way, but I guarantee a cat heard that and they're probably at my door right now. I will send video proof of this later, but what I'm going to say now is that there's no better way to train feral cats in your neighborhood than feeding them some delicious greenies dental treats. And to prove how good these are, cats aren't the only ones who like them. They're also good for people. Check this out. It's delicious. Now, if you can tolerate this in your mouth, if I find it good, can you imagine how those kittens feel? It's their favorite thing to eat. Now, I will say this. They are packed with fiber, so don't eat too many of these. As you can tell, I'm having a hard time swallowing it right now because I have enough fiber in my diet. Because you will shit yourself constantly if you have way too many of these, which is why I'm constantly finding cat shit outside my house. But that's not really a gripe on greenies. It's just like, don't feed them too much. So, anyway, if you're trying to buy the love of that cat in your life, go for greenies. That's it.
Oh God, you ate cat food. God bless.
It's technically they're cat treats.
God
cat treats,
bless you.
Okay, I mean, how
This
else am I gonna
desperate
sell
you
it?
are.
No,
That's how desperate you are for sweets. To be fair, I spent $5 for a goddamn cookie, and you went and ate cat food.
Hey man, these are way cheaper than those cookies you bought.
I bet. I really do.
I have a question.
Delicious. Yeah.
What the hell is catnip?
Catnip's like a drug for cats. I really don't know how else to describe it because I barely know what it is, but that's
I don't know.
yeah.
Everybody talks about catnip and like how it's this wholesome magical thing. I've never seen it, never used it, so I have no idea what it is. I just figured to see if either of you cat experts might have known.
I don't know shit about cats.
Yeah, it's derived from like a plant. I'm not sure what plant it is, but basically it just makes cats like loopy, like almost hallucinogenic for cats. And I have no idea why it interacts with cats like that. Like obviously we don't feel it if we like ingest it or
Danny,
sniff it.
are you open to trying it?
I would. I don't know. I don't have enough vices, so I might as well try catnip. If it's not non-destructive, if it doesn't fuck with my brain too much, then sure, I'll try some. What is going on? There we go. Finally that. Yeah, you know what's really funny? I will say, so one last piece about the concept of time is that you talked about grace periods. Now, I think I mentioned this in the party episode, but like the biggest thing I will say about the concept of time is that if you announce it to the world, if it becomes real, then that's fuck. How do I phrase this? If you say it out loud, it becomes real. In meaning in that if someone says you have to be here at 8 a.m. for your work shift, but there's a 7-minute grace period, people are gonna think 8:07. And just like we talked about, hey, come to my party. It starts at 8 p.m. But people don't usually like to show up until like 9. Guess what everybody hears? So as soon as you announce something into the world when it comes to time, that becomes reality, no matter what you want or anticipate. And I just want to make sure that you guys understand that no matter who or what you're dealing with in this life, that time is only as real as you make it.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to be so philosophical, but I think that's pretty fucking neat.
Yeah, no, but if we can go on the subject of time, because it reminds me of this story a few weeks ago where I scheduled some date with a girl from Bumble, and I said, yo, like, you're in the city, we can meet at this bar, it should be closer to you, and we picked a time and everything. Morning of, I send the confirmation text like, hey, are we still on for tonight? And for the entire day, I don't hear anything, but I already, again, planned my day out as if I was going to go to this thing. Right. And I was ready to go early, and I still haven't heard from her. I just decided not to get dressed and not to go. Still didn't hear from her, so I assumed she wasn't going to go either. And I'm just wondering, is this like a thing people do now? Do they just like not show up to dates at all?
Ghosting?
Huh? Ghosting, yeah, but this is after making the plan to be somewhere. Like, she said she was gonna be there. I said I was gonna be there. God forbid I never sent that confirmation text, but it seems like I would have never heard from her it, or like I wouldn't have known. I would have just showed up and just been there by myself waiting for nothing.
Yeah, being stood up is nothing new, especially even in this generation with all the technology. It's easier to do now, if anything. I think we've talked about this several times. Yeah, if you guys both agreed to be somewhere and you happen to show up after confirmation and she's not there, then you just got stood up. That's all. And then they ghost you. They do the polite thing and don't say anything at all, and then they're out of your life forever.
Yeah. It's just massively disrespectful. To me, it's equivalent to leaving a rude YouTube comment. Like, people these days, they don't have to face their consequences, so they're a little bit more bold with the shit they do. And I would have been a lot more comfortable if she just said, actually, I'm not feeling it, or never gave me her phone number to begin with. But, like, I'm mostly just upset at the idea that I would have wasted my time. And I don't like that. I'm glad that it happened and I never got dressed or anything for this shit. If I even took a shower for it, I would have been upset and annoyed.
Yeah. I think one of the worst things in life is wasted time. Actually, it might be paramount to everything I do. Like, wasting my time. I don't really care for money as much as I care about my time. Like, as long as I'm invested in doing something, it has to be worth my while. I don't care how much fucking money you throw at me. And I know
Agreed.
I've complained to you guys, maybe on this podcast even, about the job. One of the jobs I have, I have two jobs, but one of them I'm just at all the time, and I basically carry the workload while I'm there, and I do a lot of shit to keep that place afloat. And you know what? Doesn't matter how much money they throw at me. A lot of it feels like wasted effort to me. And like, why the fuck am I even there? I don't care if it, everyone's a whore for the right price. But like, within the realm of possibility, I shouldn't be at this job because of just how much time I feel like I'm wasting there. And I don't feel I'm the only one on this planet who feels that way about their current position.
No. I 100% agree with you. Like, even so right now, while I'm looking for a job, I am back to doing catering, and I usually try to take shifts that I actually want to work. Like, either my friends are the shift managers, or I like the crew or whatever. Like, I try to find reasons to know if I go there, I'm going to enjoy something about it. But for me, time is way more important than money. I think even then, people that latch on to their money, or they value something expensive, it's because they know how much time went into earning the money to be able to afford a certain thing. And I think a lot of strong relationships are also built on time. Like, I think the more time you spent with something or someone, it shows how much you're willing to invest your life to have it be a part of yours. And like a friendship that lasted 10 years relative to one that lasted 2, for me, obviously, if I lose the 10-year relationship, it's going to hurt me more. But like, also the 10-year relationships, hoping are strong enough where if we don't keep in contact as much, we still know we have each other's backs. But if something were to go south between us, I think the 10-year investment would hurt me a lot. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, it's only because of the time we spent. Like, no, I actually cared about this person. Or like, people who stay in serious relationships longer than they should have, and the more time I feel like you spend in that toxic or serious relationship, the harder it is for you to let go of it, because it's been so ingrained a part of your life. It could have been something that lasted a couple months, but instead of reading the red flags, you let it last a few years, and now it's like a significant percentage of your life.
Yeah,
I think
I bring this. I want to bring this up while we're on the subject. To anybody who argues the fact that time isn't the most important thing in our lives, I want you to lose those 10 years of your life, or lose, let's say, $100,000. Both suck. You can make $100,000 back. You cannot get 10 years of your life back. As far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing as a time machine. No one's built one yet, So I'll
challenge that.
Really?
I'll challenge that. No, like not challenge against it, but just make the statement. Like, let's say you were gonna die in 5 minutes, and someone said, how much are you willing to pay to have another year of your life? If someone said it's gonna cost you $100,000, in a heartbeat, you'd give that money. Or how much money your family would give to spend that extra time with you. I think it's a very significant number, and time is a lot more important than money will ever be. Unless you're trying to be some kind of self-righteous person and you're like, oh no, the medicine and the hospital stay is going to cost you this much money, just pull the plug. I don't know too many people that'll make that rational decision and just pull the plug. People will hold on to hope and keep you alive for as long as they can. I think my sister had a dog, and she barely even had the dog. It was like a new one, and the dog happened to be born with cancer. And my sister spent thousands of dollars on chemotherapy and different treatments just to keep the dog alive, even though like the prognosis was not good. But she felt as a dog mom that if she didn't do everything in her power to try to keep that dog alive, was she even worthy of being a dog mom?
Oh,
That's
pretty
that's
heavy.
how deep, yeah, but that's how deep some people feel about certain things. And the time was more important than the money. The money didn't matter to her, even though like my dad and my mom are just like, my mom hates animals, especially dogs. But even she was telling her this is unreasonable, don't waste your money, just get a new dog or something. My sister was like, no, like I love my dog, and she did everything in her power to keep it alive.
All right. And I'll even take it a step further and say that I think a lot of people at the surface will say that like time is more valuable than money. Maybe that's popular opinion, but I wonder how many people out there actually put it into practice, much like your sister did. Because I feel
Oh,
like a lot of
I know
people live
people that
their
do the
life.
opposite.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who will just sit here and say, yeah, time, my time's more valuable than my money. But then they'll
Oh,
go to the job
yeah.
they hate, or they'll do this, and this just for a quick buck or whatever. Like just be slaves
On
to
top of that,
to the
like the
system.
amount of drugs I know people do,
Yeah.
like the lengths they go to hurt themselves. And if you did the math and said, like every time, for example, you smoke a cigarette, you lose 14 seconds of your life, for example. Like it's a very small number, but then people will be like, I don't give a shit, like I like it. Or I have one friend that's so invested in his work and he just wants to make more and more money. He said his only goal in life is to make fuck you money. So he sits in a cave all day and just works and works and works. And I asked him, like, so how has COVID really affected you? Oh, it hasn't. I would have been home anyway, working my ass off anyway. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Good for you. But I'm just like, well, what about all the, like, you just basically missed out on all your 20s and now you're entering your 30s and you're still doing it. Yeah, yeah, I know I enjoyed my childhood and I did all these things and I'm willing to sacrifice my youth just to make sure I have enough money to do whatever the hell I want when I'm like around 45.
Yeah, that's what you call an investment. Time can be invested just as much as actual physical money. Like I know I've done a lot of shit. Like I'm 31 now, and I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I had done more of this. Like I think everyone has that regret in their life. Like I wish I had done this instead and spent my time doing this. Especially when they get older. So I don't really blame your friend for putting all his time in now and working super nose to the grindstone and really missing out on a lot of shit now to have free up some of his time in the future and maybe have an early retirement. Sure, good for him. Maybe his best years are ahead of him, which is like more than I can say for a lot of my peers nowadays. They're just, I don't know what foreseeable prospects they have. But then there are people now who are just like, I don't know if there's any perfect equation between energy, time, and money, right? It's like those three things that someone needs to actually live in this life, not just exist.
No,
What?
I was gonna say I think there definitely is a balance. Like there's working hard and there's working smart. And I know people that don't do much and they know how to create value in their lives and can make money. And I just know people that work their asses off and they just work, put in the time, and they're building up their worth or their value very slowly. And there's different ways to do it. It's
I
just,
think
but what?
I think it comes down to priorities. I know for a fact that some people in this world believe that working yourself into the grave has no benefit because while you're young, you work as they tell you to make money for later, and then you're too old later to really survive and do anything worthwhile with your life. So you're essentially caught in this block that you're working all your life and then just end up dying. I think different people have different mentalities and different operations. I will say, me personally, I really wish I'd tapped into my business earlier in my life, like when I was 18. Um, I think it would have been a lot better, making a lot more money. But,
Yeah.
I know I'm glad I am where I am now with in regards to what I am handling. I'm glad that I am able to make the kind of money that I do to be able to invest into my operations and, hopefully use that investment to multiply my income.
Yeah, to bring this back to the morbid, um, they have all these experiments and they just have mostly social experiments of people asking people on their deathbed, like, you know, what anything you would have done differently if you had another chance at life. And a majority of the time, when people talk about their regrets, they're never talking about things they did. Oh, I regret jumping off that bridge. Oh, I regret, you know, getting talking to that girl. They always regret the things they didn't do, right? People regret not taking chances. They regret not having more experiences in life because I think every day is a struggle between trying to live in the present or the future. And some people, unfortunately, live in the past, which I think is the most toxic. I think people should use the past to learn from their mistakes or learn from other people's mistakes. But life should be a balance between the present and the future. Either you're working hard now to make money for the future for whatever other endeavors to make you happy or your family or friends, or you're living in the present, you're making money, you're going to concerts, you're going to raves, you're traveling, you're doing whatever you can to enjoy the now. And I think that's just really the only way you can live your life. But you can't be 100% one or the other either, because if everybody lived carpe diem, you know, live like there's no tomorrow, I can empty out my bank account right now, and then tomorrow comes and I got nothing, and I gotta live for, a few months in the future until I have enough equity to live another day or to feed myself. So I do think that there should be a balance, but for the most part, that's what life is. But you need to enjoy it now. You need to take chances. That's why, like, for me, anytime an opportunity comes up to do something, I'll try my best to say yes, because worst case scenario, at least a story can come out of it.
All right, so this whole seize the day mentality reminds me of the Friends episode where we talked about. I guess it's this hand. All right, where we talked about like what does like a good person do or a good friend do to make them render themselves non-useless. So when you say like, oh, I need to seize the day now, and I wonder, I have to ask yourself, depending on the kind of person, what do you do to make that, like, how are you seizing the day? Because when you say that, like, I want to invest in the future, that means like doing a lot of work and a lot of shit that just isn't fun. But then people who want to live in the present, when it comes to seizing the day, you said, not to misquote you, but like, I'm looking for that opportunity. And to me, that's really ambiguous. So it's like the opportunity for you, I don't know what that means. Like, can you expand on that? What is an opportunity? Yeah. Like when you say I'm going to seize the day, and the seizing the day means like you have an opportunity now to do something, is kind of what you were saying. It's based on what you're doing presently.
To be honest, I don't know what you're referring to, but if I were to take a guess, I think we were talking about like luck. And I say that like if I'm waiting for an opportunity, what I'm doing now is preparing myself to be essentially lucky. Because I think luck isn't like, there's a difference between Vegas luck and opportunities in life that are lucky. Like you get presented with the chance to audition for a spot on a TV show or something. I think it's luck to me is when preparation meets opportunity. So there are some people that just live their lives and they get a paycheck, they set aside what they need for rent and food and everything else they have on that check, after they've taken care of themselves, they'll spend the rest on drinks or something and going out with friends. And there's other people that are like, oh, I need this much money in my bank account just in case I need to pay for this or just in case this happens, kind of like an insurance. But when it comes to opportunities, for me, it's just, oh, you want to drive all the way to Santa Cruz and hang out on the boardwalk today? Fuck it, I got, nothing else to do. Or, oh, you have a sweet job opportunity for me to bartend at Drake's house for some party he's having. That's cool because I just learned how to bartend and I'm ready for this opportunity. Like,
okay,
it's just, I think that's what I'm referring to, but just setting yourself up for success instead of setting yourself up to not be prepared for something awesome.
Yeah, so you're looking for the good times now, as they're presented to you, which
right, assuming everything else is also out of the way.
Okay, so there's a hierarchy to what you do. So before you can carpe diem, you have to make sure that the investment for your future is set straight in the best way you can. Is that what you're saying?
But the question then comes down to, what do you consider to be your future set before you can carpe diem? To which limit do you go preparing yourself before you can say, okay, I'm done. I've made enough. Now it's time to go fucking carpe diem.
Well, so like there's different ways to carpe diem. Like if I wanted to, every day after work I can go to a bar and drink But instead, I'm just like, no, let me go home and let me do something a little bit more productive with my time. Sure, we'll call it masturbating. But then there's the alternative where it's kind of like, how about I instead reserve going out to bars for certain days. That way, when I still do it, it's still something special. Like we talked about before, how I don't drink a lot, but if a grand event came about when I do drink, it actually means something. Like I can enjoy the time now, and I don't feel like I have any regrets because it's just once in a blue moon kind of thing. Like I feel like there's time that can be spent to being productive, and then that allows you to have the wiggle room to be a little bit more, have a little bit more fun, be a little bit more destructive if you want to call it that. But by destructive, it's I'm referring to having some fun, doing something that you enjoy, even like regardless of the consequences.
All right, so those are the reason I'm trying to dig deeper into this. So those are contrasting principles. So if you invest 100% into one of them, that means you're ignoring the other. So if you're going to party every night, then you're not saving money, you're not working, so there goes the future. But you are 100% seizing the now moment. Maybe you'll have the opportunity where you end up at a bar with Drake or something, like something ridiculous happens. You increase those opportunities in that respect. The more you party or carpe diem in that manner. But if you were 100% involved in the opposite, which is like, I'm not going out doing anything, I'm gonna stay home, I'm gonna work on, let's say, this podcast or whatever, or I'm gonna like work on the big presentation, right? That's my future, that's my job, I can get a promotion or something. Like there's no room for fun. So that's like, I think the big word is balance. We brought it up earlier. Like how do people actually balance where like what they, that's the thing, that's the equation I'm worried about, or I'm really trying to find. Because if you're just like sitting in the middle, are you what's the trajectory of that? If you're just doing a little bit of fun today and a little bit of work, are you just doing that the rest of your life? Or, in your friend's case, who just like gives all that up now, but in like 10 years he can say he's retired and he can go to Bermuda, but it'll be like 40, 50, so it's like, fuck, can't really run across the beach like I wanted to because my legs are shot, my lower back sucks or something. Like there's a give and take to everything we're doing now that affects our future. So I agree with one sentiment, is that like living in the past is almost useless. I think you can learn from it, yeah, but then apply that to now or the future. Those are the two paths we have left at our disposal. So that's really what I'm just trying to get my head around, is like, what is the perfect balance? What is the perfect equation you can do right now, aside from the 1% of people who exist on this planet who just like have infinite time and money because they're trust fund babies or just, money found in whatever. For us regular Joes, what do you think is the perfect balance to do right now? Or what's the path you would take right now if you had complete control of your life?
I think it just depends on what your long-term goals are. Like, so the example I gave before about the person that sets aside some money for rent and food and then uses the rest to drink, we're talking about someone that was Uber driving on a daily basis to make ends meet, and that was the only job they had. But I asked them, like, hey, like, do you want to have a wife? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to have kids? What are you doing to set yourself up for that if literally every dime you have, you're spending on drinks, but you're not leaving some extras for emergencies, like no rainy day fund or anything? And lo and behold, inflation hits, Uber is slowing down. He has the choice between either working a lot more hours to make the same amount he was doing before or not. And there were months where the guy couldn't make rent. And I was like, at the very least, live in for the tomorrow to the point where you have enough rainy day funds as well. Like, don't just spend everything, but also like leave some to the side for investing or whatever. Because if you have a long-term plan of having a wife and kids, maybe you should also be working towards a job that won't put you in a position to have to live every week on those limitations. Like, you want to have enough money saved up and eventually move out of the apartment you're in. Like, we're talking about having a friggin' roommate in a single bedroom apartment, and you're the one that pays less money to live in the living room. Like, that is not setting yourself up for the ultimate goal of having a wife and kids, right?
True.
And I also think that like I know people that are on the opposite end of the spectrum that live too much in the present, or sorry, live too much in the future instead of kind of living in the present. So I'd ask some of my friends who are doctors, and I'd be like, hey, so what's up? Are you dating? Like, what's going on? Oh no, I don't think I'm ready to date. I just graduated school and I need to get a job. And I was like, oh, so why weren't you dating during school? Oh, because I was really busy with school, and apparently when he was working, he thought he'd have enough time, but now he's giving this, and I'm like, all right, so now you have to consider the concept of there are certain things in life where you're never gonna have a perfect opportunity, because if you're living too much in the future, for example, like, oh, let me work for a little while and get my bearings. But now you're going to be hyper focused on the next thing. And I think people who have too many ambitions or too many goals and they forget about the other priorities they have in life, I'm like, well, don't forget, like, this is something you want in life. Yeah, but maybe I'll have more time when I'm at this stage of my life. And I know people that keep delaying it, delaying it, delaying it. And then you can ask other people that are already married and have kids in the same position, like, hey, these are our classmates. They were in school and they got married, they had kids. Do you think if you asked them this was the optimal time to do it? Probably not. But you can ask anybody, and no one's ever going to say the optimal time to have a marriage and a kids is this time. Everyone always says the same thing. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to make it work, but there's never a perfect time. And I think that's another interesting way to look at it, where if you're going to live for the future, just recognize that if it's important enough, you're going to make time for it.
I think people will never have a proper time, no matter how much we try to envision that in our heads. I think that, first off, in regards to a fulfilling life, varies from individual to individual. With in regards to Omid, you keep bringing up people getting married and having children. Some people don't want that. Some people despise children. Some people despise the thought of being obligated to somebody by marriage. For
I was
numerous
talking
reasons.
about somebody who explicitly told me that's what they wanted, so I used them as an example.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying that I'm writing this out as like we have to consider that every single one of these situations varies by individual cases. In regards to fulfillment, I think we've all been around the block where we've seen people who work themselves to the fucking bone, and some people who just go out there and they party fucking hard, like they do every fucking drug known to man on this earth. They suck dick for a living just to get around and do whatever the hell they want to do because they have a sugar daddy or whatever. Uh, yeah, it's really hard to kind of determine. I think that the prospect of knowing when the time is right or what the proper balance is for whatever you want to do really comes down to what goals that person has. If you're somebody who's just out here living to suck dick all day and have a sugar daddy and go travel all the time and do drugs, you don't have there's no real potential for you to be worried about money because you're always going to have somebody taking care of you. Versus if you're a guy who, as you stated, one of your friends who went to, medical school and didn't have time today because he was so focused on school, and then he gets out of school and he's like, okay, well, I got my degree, now I need to get my ass to a job so I can start making real money. Now I don't have time for that because, relationships do take away your time, your focus, and your money to uphold good relations. That's the other side of that same coin. Like, you'll never find that balancing point for anybody. We all have different ideals and wants in this world, and that's why you can't really answer that question, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel.
Did you
about
listen
that.
to the whole spiel I made, or?
No, I heard what you were saying. I'm just trying
Yeah. So I'm basically saying that no one's ever gonna be ready. But the thing is, if something is important enough to you, you can make the time for it. And on top of what Danny said earlier about opportunities, this is a perfect example of an opportunity where if this guy is so focused on his job that he wants a wife, and I was like, okay, well, what if you met your wife or your future wife today? Like, what if you feel like you meet a girl and she's your soulmate? Are you gonna sit here and say, "Oh, sorry, I'm not ready to date you"? No,
I think it comes down to your priorities.
right. And if that's a priority of his, I guarantee you he will make time for it, whether or not he says he's ready to not date. This is mostly of getting on the topic of him joining dating apps or getting out in the scene. And I was like, look, just put yourself out there. Like, if you want this, at least get started now, because there's never gonna be a time you're gonna be officially ready for it. But it was just, I mean, sometimes you talk to people and you can hear them making excuse after excuse.
But
And
does
I
he
think
want it?
that's when you push back.
Does he want it?
That's exactly why we're having that conversation, because he explicitly
Yeah.
said he wanted it.
Okay. I mean, hey, if he says that he wants,
He
it, that's a
explicitly
different
said
story.
yes. That's exactly my point. Like I don't know what you're disputing there at that point.
I'm just disputing the concept of I don't think that anybody can have balance or be able to make that kind of call at all.
Here's
They're,
here's
I
an
don't think they just
example.
balance.
The other guy that I said his goal was to make fuck you money, there at no point did I say, but what about a wife and kids? I'm talking specifically like when somebody states their goal, then we're going to talk about, okay, how do you get from A to B, or what are you doing in the today to make B the reality? And he's literally doing it. For him, time doesn't matter. He will do every drug in the world, every amphetamine that he can find to stay up overnight because he works for a company that's on China time, and he also doesn't sleep throughout America time. So he's just constantly working for like 48, 72 hours straight, and then he'll crash or something, wake up, repeat. Sometimes he'll only get 3 hours of sleep per night. But I'm like, well, is that what you want? Yeah, this is all I want. I just want to make fuck you money, and this is the best way to do it. Fine. I let him go. I only push back on people that say they want one thing, and then I hear an excuse for why they can't achieve it. And I'm like, no, if you want this bad enough, I feel like as a friend, it's my obligation to push back when I hear some bullshit, because I want that for you too, if it makes you happy.
Yeah, that's fair.
That brings up another thought is that a lot of the times people don't know what they want, and so the time is lost by default because you simply just don't have the means, or you're just not ready yet to acknowledge what you want. And I feel that's a lot of people suffer. I can give you 1,000 reasons why that's the end result, but a lot of people just deal with that nowadays. They don't know exactly what they want, so they don't have the opportunity to start. Start being the key word, because if you don't start on something, they didn't never make it a reality. And I do sympathize with those people, because I know for a long time I was one of them. I didn't like, what the fuck do I want? From an early age I had concepts, but then there's a lot of things that like people tell you this is what you should be doing, or like you say to yourself, no, I really don't like this. You start over again, over and over again. And I think all this entire spiel is really just to say that like it's never too late. And that's so fucking cliche. Sorry, but I have to say it. Like if there's someone, like what's that new show that's coming out now? The House of the Dragon. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, one of the Targaryens, what's his name? Peter Dinklage. Guy was working in an office at 29 years old. Yeah, at 29 years old, I know a lot of friends married, have kids. They're working their 9 to 5s. They're doing what they want, or what conceivably what they want. But then there's this guy who now is like in his 40s, maybe 50s, and he's popular around the world for this role in a major popular TV series. And I just think people get hung up on where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. And that's when time gets devalued. That's when time gets spat on. People don't respect it because they feel like they should be somewhere or doing something at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
But the reality is that you have all of it. Every day is a goddamn gift. Like,
Yeah, we talked about it last episode.
We did, and I remember I was just like, I was really upset with that. So I forgot the details, but it wasn't, I was like, that's whatever. Omid said that's ridiculous. I moved on with it. But I'm here to tell you that, like, I'm not trying to contradict myself, but it really is, like, every day is something that you can make something happen, and you can flip on the turn of a dime. You can change your entire life if you have the time, then you should be using it. Is all I'm saying. And it doesn't have to be like a grand, like meta, like I gotta be spectacular. But if your idea of life hasn't been achieved and you're still breathing, that means you have time to spend. So spend it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the problem with a lot of people these days too is they feel either entitled to some form of success or money, and I'm like, nobody's ever entitled to money. If you're doing something that's not generating you the amount of money you think you deserve, figure it out, but don't bitch about it. And the other thing is, I think a lot of people that do put themselves in that position, for example, Peter Dinklage, I don't think he felt entitled to his time, and if anything, he was like, I need to make this change in my life, and he put in the work to do it. And I think that's what most people also lack. They don't want to put in the work, because putting in the work requires leaving your comfort zone to make a change, because clearly where you are now isn't making you happy, and the obvious decision here is make a change. And if you can't do that, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And setting yourself for failure, I want to bring it back to what we talked about earlier too, about mitigating the risk. For example, like if Peter Dinklage wanted to be an actor, then I'm pretty sure he knows the move is to start taking acting classes and doing improv on the side, doing whatever he can, get his foot in the door, so that one day if he's on stage somewhere and there's a talent agent in the audience, or there's a director and they see him, they're ready to pick him up. It's kind of like that concept of the suit makes the man, right? Where you want to be able, like, you need to be dressed and set yourself up to be where you want to be. And I also like to take that, for example, if you were to meet the love of your life, like some people say, dress every day as if you were going to meet the love of your life. And it's a very true concept. Like, you always need to be ready for the possibility of something happening. So you always need to present yourself in the best light. Be a good person, be clean, do all these things, because you need to set yourself up in this world to, as we say, get lucky. And if you're not setting yourself up for success, what are you setting yourself up for? Nothing.
There you go.
And if you're setting, that's just comfort. And I think we talked about before, comfort is death to me. If I'm comfortable, then that just means I'm not trying, and I'm not growing as a person. So I think people always need to be in that constant state of manifesting what they want in this world. I think you talked about it too, right? Like, speak it into existence, right? I think the word nowadays is manifesting. So you got to manifest the future and life you want. Even if it's fake it till you make it, fuck it, fake it. Because if you fake it long enough, eventually, like, it does become a part of your... Best example is one of my successful friends was talking to someone that was having a really rough day, and they're like, yeah, I just don't like how all these people are doing a lot better than me. And he asks him, well, what do you think they're doing every day to be as successful as they are? I want you to pretend you're them and wake up every morning thinking you are just like them, and do what they do every day, and see if it gets you closer to your goals. And I thought that was a great piece of advice. Unfortunately, that person ended up committing suicide, but that's not
Christ.
important. That's not important. Hashtag happy birthday, Kobe.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think it's a very strong idea that, for example, like, if I wanted to play basketball like Kobe Bryant, I have to live my life with like Kobe Bryant. That man woke up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym at 4 a.m. and shoot like a bunch of jump shots and practice and work out. And practice didn't start until 7 a.m. or something. And then he went to his professional practice, and then he stayed after practice challenging other players to one-on-one free throws, and his only goal was to prove to everybody else that he was going to be the last one to leave that gym. If you don't have that same mentality, you're never going to be Kobe unless you're some genetic freak. But right now you're at a disadvantage because the other person you're trying to be has been doing it longer than you. So you also have to give yourself that much time to be successful. And I think patience plays a really big role in that. That's different.
Yeah, and none of us here is saying that you have to be Kobe. I'm just saying whatever your goal is in this life and you're not where you want to be, and everything's, not exactly how you want it to be, there's always time. Keyword of this this podcast today. Keyword: time. There's always time to change. And you should, if you have that time, I don't care how much money you have. If that money is ill-gotten, it's something that you're doing a bunch of stuff every day to earn that money that you don't want to be doing, and it's not fulfilling and it's not making you happy, then fuck the money. You still have time. The money will come back if you invest in yourself. I can almost guarantee that. Almost. Doesn't always work out, but I guarantee if you take the first step on that journey, acknowledging that you still have time in this world, no matter where you are, and you want to do something, you want to achieve something, then you owe it to yourself to go do that.
Right. But I think it's fair to say, though, that there are some goals that you need to be a little bit more realistic about. And the ones I'm referring to are the ones that are, for example, like I had a buddy who, after we graduated college around the ripe age of 23, thought that he could start his training to join an MLS soccer league. And I'm like, this would be more reasonable if you've been playing all your life and you were the best one out of our friend group. So going professional seems almost reasonable. But sometimes there are just certain physical limitations, and at a certain age, unless you're, I think the oldest NBA player that I can think of at the time that started late was Anthony Tolliver, who played for the Warriors when he was closer to like the late 30s. Um, it's just one of those goals where I think if you set your mind to it and you work hard enough, you can achieve certain goals. And there are certain things like if you're 50 years old, don't try to make it to the NBA.
Yeah, it's kind of what I touched base on earlier. Like, there's an equation. Like, over time, you will lose the energy. Energy, that means like your body too.
Yeah,
Your body
yeah,
goes
yeah.
over time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also do think that what's important is that people need to distinguish between physical limitations, like things you physically, literally are incapable of doing, versus something that you're telling yourself you can't do and you're making some kind of an excuse. Because I think it's just like the guy David Goggins kind of preaches, and he practices what he preach, where the only limitations that we set on ourselves comes from us. It's our mentality, it's our minds, it's our brains. We set our own limitations for ourselves, right? Like, I tell myself I can't run a marathon. That's bullshit. If I wanted to, I could probably run a marathon. I just don't want to. And I've seen people that go from having zero physical abilities and not doing anything active in their lives to running marathons. Like, these are very doable goals, and I don't allow people, unless they have a bum knee or no meniscus in their like legs. Like, if you can't do it, I'll admit it, you can't fucking do this. Like, you don't stop trying to join the San Jose Earthquakes. You're too old and you suck. But if someone's like, oh, I want to be an investment banker, go fucking learn how to invest. Go study up on the stock market. Go read these books. I was just watching a video today where somebody says, if you want to be successful, talk to someone that's doing what you want to do and ask them, what books did you read? It's as simple as that. Have their knowledge, do what they do, become them if you want to be somebody.
All right. Yeah, that reminds me of one of our very first episodes right here about some of the phrases we talked about, like nothing is impossible, etc., all the cliches. But I think what's important to know, I can't sit here and endorse that you tell yourself no in any bounds, whatever that, even if that is physically. Like, if you want to try to make it to the NBA at 50, no matter how improbable, fuck it, man. If that's really what you want to do, maybe you'll be the first to do it, and that'd be fucking insane. So if you're out there thinking to yourself, I could do it, then by all means. But yeah, you can play the odds. If it's really not in your favor, you can be like, well, I would settle for this or whatever. If it really doesn't mean that much to you, you can always try something else, whatever it is. But the fact is that you get started and try to understand that about yourself and what actually is your goal in life. Goals. What's going to fulfill you and make you happy ultimately. Anyway.
Just be tired of your own
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that clip? I don't know what platform it's on, but it's this video of this guy that has no arms and no legs, and he's like, just tell me something that I can't do and I'll fucking do it. Watch me. And then the song by Lil Jon plays, like, snap your fingers, do your step, you can do it.
Right.
And I was just like, yeah, like, sometimes you just literally can't do something. It's totally
Nothing
fair.
wrong with it, man. Figure it
Yeah.
out though.
But I do think that there are certain points where you just have to say no, like, that is not realistic. Wake up, man. Or like, the thing is, like, let's say, for example, if somebody wants to be 50 years old and make it to the NBA, at that point, if you see their work ethic and you're just like, at this trajectory, you're gonna die before you can even make it into a development league team, then you tell them stop or pick it up, right? Like, my buddy that was trying to join an MLS soccer team, his only workout was waking up at 6 a.m., God bless his soul, going to a soccer field and kicking a soccer ball around for half an hour and saying, yeah, I trained. And then once in a while, he'll go to the gym, but his daily routine involved smoking a ton of weed and drinking a bunch of beer, right? And only actual professionals can get away with that lifestyle because they already have contracts. And I'm
Sounds like
you-
typical MLS players.
There you go. But they
Shit.
have the money, they have the contract, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. This guy, I'm just like, you can't live that lifestyle because you don't have the talent or the guaranteed money that they do. What is it like, Danny? Who are the NFL players that have weight clauses in their contracts? I know Eddie Lacy used to have one.
Lacy was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
but
got
there's
fat.
I think there's more these days. I think no, Zion Williamson I think also has a weight clause in his contract. He just got a really really fat max deal, even though he gained a bunch of weight, he was injured, and he played very shitty. But they put a weight clause in his contract because they want to make sure that he stays in peak physical shape while they pay him what $50 million a year
Yeah.
for 4 years.
Not too
Like,
much to ask.
It's yeah. Like, yeah, when someone's paying you $50 million a year, they fucking own you. That is Danny's dick sucking price point.
And I'll,
So
dude, I'd
you
have
better
to-
stay pretty, Danny. Stay pretty.
Dude, I already put donuts down for free. I'd love to get paid $50 million to be fit. Holy shit.
See?
Yeah. Anyway, all that we're saying here at Does This Offend You is that you got the time, man. Time's on your side. Go do something with it. If I were to wrap this up, tie it with a bow.
But don't steal other people's time.
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible, but sure. Yeah. How you guys feeling? Woo, we did a lot of talking today.
Pretty
No.
good.
Pretty good, yeah. I feel like this was a good use of our time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this to bed because I know you've had enough after that. That puts the cherry on top for this episode. So, all that being said, that is Vlad. That is Omid. If you like what you've heard today, don't forget to like, share, comment down below. Tell us what you do with your time. Is it enough? Do you not like it? Do you want to spend your time doing something else? Whatever it is, let us know. And of course, please subscribe to our podcast. Always helps out. Whether it be here on YouTube or on Spotify, give us a follow. Doesn't matter. We appreciate all of your support. Next week, we see how much coffee it takes to explode the human bladder. Thanks for watching. See you soon.